Morning everyone. Today we'll talk about Active Directory in Azure. In previous it is Azure Active Directory. Now it is renamed as Microsoft Entra ID. This is the name they renamed from Azure Active Directory to Microsoft Entra ID. Okay. So what is meant by Active Directory or what is meant by Entra ID? What is the purpose of it? Why we need to use it? Being a DevOps engineer or being an Azure administrator, what things we need to perform in this Entra ID or Active Directory, that we will discuss. Okay. So for example, you have an organization. So basically this organization contains many number of people. So every person who is entering to the organization premises, you must authenticate that person, that this person belongs to this particular organization or not. So you need to first authenticate that user, whether he belongs to this organization or not. How you will authenticate? Based on username and password. So what you will do, if he is my person, if he belongs to my organization, I will create one username, I will create one password for that user, and I will share that username and password with that person. So the person must remember his username, his password. So whenever he is entering to this organization, he must use that username and password. Okay. So if whatever the username and password generated from here, if it matches the person also using the same username and password, if it matches, then only you are allowing that person. So where you will confirm or where you will store whatever the usernames you generated, whatever the passwords you generated, where you will store it, you need a place. And whenever the people entering to your organization, you must route that request to that particular place. Okay, we have created one user and we have created one password, and people are trying to log in with that user, people are trying to log in with that password. Just cross verify that whatever we generated, whatever he entering, these two are matching or not. If those two are matching, yes, then you can allow him to this environment, or else you can reject him or you can deny him. So to perform this functionality, to do all this stuff, you must need a device. That device is nothing but Active Directory. So this Active Directory will be single for entire organization. There is no need to maintain multiple Active Directories. You will maintain a single Active Directory for your entire organization to authenticate your users. So whenever there is a request, whenever anyone trying to log into your place, that request first goes to Active Directory and it will validate from here, and if it matches with the credentials inside this Active Directory, then it will allow you, or else it will deny you. The next time, if I want to onboard a new user, what I need to do? First I need to go to the Active Directory. Here I need to create a new user, I need to create a new password, and then from here, whatever the password I generated, whatever the username I generated, I will share that username and password to this particular person. So this is the primary requirement of the Active Directory. So basically, for example, I have an organization called xyz.com. For example, this is my organization and this is the domain I am using for my organization. So if you integrate this domain with your Active Directory, if any user created, that user name come as, for example, user A is created, a@xyz.com. If user B is created, it will be with b@xyz.com. If C is created, it would be c@xyz.com. So it will create users like that, like this. Where you will create this user? You'll create these users in Active Directory. This I'll show you how to create the users and all this stuff. This is one of the requirement. And next, okay, for example, I have 10 users. For example, I have 10 users. These 10 users, these 10 users belongs to same team. For example, I have certain teams in my place. One is network team or ops team or DevOps team or dev team. For example, there are certain teams in your environment. A team is nothing but a group of people performing the same activity. Whoever there in the network team, they will perform same activities related to the network. The person who are in the operations team, they will all perform the same things. Same into the DevOps and same into the dev team as well. Whoever the developers, they will perform the same activities. So, for example, this person, this person, and this person, and this person belongs to performing same activity. There belongs to network, for example. So I want, if there is any requirement to provide access, or else I want to communicate any information related to the network team, what I need to do? I need to share this particular network team information to these 4 users. Okay, every time I no need to share this information to the 4 people, because if there is a new user join, then user count will be 5. The person who is sending network team details or network related details, he might not remember all the names. So instead, what we need to do, we need to group it. We need to group it. So we have an individual users. All those individual users who are performing the same activity, will make them as one group. Okay, we'll make them as one group. So for that group, having one name, that is called, for example, network team @xyz.com. So this group also having one identity. Okay, so with name. So this group consists of these 5 users. So whenever the person who want to share any information related to the network team, they will simply use this name instead of this individual users. If you use this group name, we used to call it as DL also, group DL. Okay, if you use this group name, so automatically whoever the members of this group automatically receives that request or receives that information. It's all about grouping. This is about group. So again, we will go and create groups in Active Directory itself. So you know what is meant by user and you know what is meant by group. It's absolutely fine. Now, so you have user, you have a group, is absolutely fine. So there is a requirement. There is a requirement. For example, you have your organization. Inside the organization, you have created one virtual machine. One virtual machine. So every time you need to log into this virtual machine, every time you need to log into this virtual machine, and you need to do some cleanup activity. You need to do some cleanup activity. Okay, now what I will do, if I want to do a cleanup activity on the VM, what is the primary step I need to do? The primary step is I need to log in with my credentials. My credentials, and then I'll clean up. I will start working on the cleanup activity. And next time another person wants to do the same activity, what he will do? He will log in with his credential and he will do the cleanup activity. That's absolutely fine. But anyway, this is a recurring activity. Anyway, this is a regular activity. I don't want to do via manual. Instead, I want to do this via automation. Automation is nothing but using one script, PowerShell or Bash, anything you can say. So I used to write a script. With that script, I want to clean up. Okay, then it's absolutely fine. Although it could be automation script, or it could be user. The primary step is he must, or the script must authenticate. The script must enter into this place first. Okay, it could be user or it could be the script. It first enter into that place. To enter into that place, it requires username, it requires password. If it is you, yes, you can log in and you can do the cleanup activity. If it is some XYZ person, he will log in and he will do some cleanup activity. But from automation script, how I can do that? Anyway, within the script also, I need to provide username and I need to provide password. Now, there are 5 people in the team. A, person B, person C, person D, person E. Now, if it is the person A, he can use his credential and he can log in and he can do that. Same with B, same with C, same with D, and same with E. Coming to the automation, I will ask you, Mr. A, please give me your credential. I'll keep your credentials inside that script. Does A will accept? No, I don't want to share my credentials with anyone. If I want to log in, I will log in because that will be in my control and I know what I'm doing. If I share my credentials with the script, if script performs something wrong, that will show my name only, right? Because the script is logged in with your credentials. So I will not share my credential. Same with B, he will not share. Same with C, he will not share. Same with D, he will not share. Same with E, he will not share. But you need a credential to log into it. In that scenario, there is a concept of service account. There is a concept of service account. So service account is nothing but it's a common account where anyone can utilize it. It's a common account where anyone can utilize it. If you go to the metro station or if you go to the any kind of offices or any kind of malls, watchman or anyone having one ID. Okay, it's a common ID, everyone can utilize it. Okay, so similarly in organization also you have some service accounts, okay, which anyone can utilize it. So this service account in Azure called as app registration or service principal or SPN, service principal, any name you can give it. In Azure, the meaning or the name of service account is app registration. So you need to create one app registration or one service principal or one SPN. You can call any name. Okay, you need to create one SPN or one app registration or service principal that can be used as a service account. Like the user A as his username and password, same for app registration also, he is having one username and he is having one password. I will show you what is meant by that username and what is that password when we are creating the app registration. Okay, so you must have one service principal that is called service account. Okay, so I have a service account. Now I have a username, I have a password, I know everything. Now I have all the user details. If I want to log in with my user, I will log in it. Or if I want to log in with service account, I will log in it. It's absolutely fine. Okay, cool. Now, if you observe anything, if you go to the a small mall or anything, this mall or office consists of some rooms or some specific floors or a specific rooms or ODCs defined. So, for example, you have access to enter into the premises. That is called authentication. That is fine. Once you are enter into this premises, do you allow them to enter into this particular room? No, because I have access to enter into my environment. That doesn't mean I will go to every room and I have access to the every room. No, right? This particular room is dedicatedly for dedicatedly for accounts, and this room is dedicatedly for developers, and this dedicated room is meant for HR people. So all the people who are belongs to HR, who are belongs to dev, who are belongs to accounts are part of the same organization. They are allowed to enter into the organization, but once you are allowed into the organization, to reach to the dedicated room, they must have certain role assigned. If this person belongs to HR team, he must have one role with HR. So he is the HR person, he is the account person, he is the dev person. So that based on this room, I will provide access to the dev personnel, so that only dev people can allow, only accounts people can allow, only HR people can allow. The process of this, we used to call it as authorization. So authentication is different, authorization is different. Authentication is just, it will check you are a valid user or not. Yes, once you are authenticated, then if you want to go to a specific place, you have authorization to go to that place or not. That is called authorization. How you will get this authorization? This authorization you will get based on the roles defined. Based on the roles defined. If you are not defining the roles, what will happen? Everyone can do any activity, but that is not the right approach. So even watchman having the same access, even manager also having the same access, even director also having the same access, even chairman also having the same access. It doesn't mean right. It doesn't make sense. You need to restrict to the specific people to the specific places only. You are not allow unauthorized people, or you are not allow other people into that dedicated or dedicated places you designed. So in Azure, that is the reason there is a concept of RBAC, means role based authorization or role based access control. Role based access control. So they used to control the access based on the roles. So you have many environments in Azure or many services in Azure. If I want to access that particular service, it must have dedicated roles assigned to that particular person or the particular service account. You must have a roles assigned on that particular resource, then only he can come and he can perform any activity. So if you consider one more example, for example, I have, this is called my Azure, this is called my Azure. So in Azure, I created one resource group. This is called resource group 1. Okay, I created one more resource group. This resource group I used to call it as resource group 2. Okay, now if anybody wants to enter into this Azure, the first it must be a valid user. It's absolutely fine. Now the person A enter into the place. Okay, if person A log into RG1 and make any activities, he must have one RBAC assigned on RG1. In short, he must have permission exclusively provided on RG1. Then only he might enter into this place. Otherwise, it will not allow. So to enter into this place, this person must provide access on RG1. Okay. Similarly, if this person want to enter into the RG2, what he need to do? He must have access on RG2. Then only he must enter into that particular place. How we will provide this access? On a dedicated resource. It could be resource group, it could be virtual machine, it could be storage account, it could be app service, it could be any service. How you will provide that access to that particular people? That you can provide by using IAM, identity and access management, which you will see on every resource. It could be VM or it could be app service. Everywhere when you go, you will see an option called IAM. The purpose of this option is you just go to this place and click on this option, then it will allow you to add any person or any service principal to provide a dedicated role on the respective place. This is about role-based access management, how you are providing. If you go bit deeper, for example, yes, you said first you need to authenticate it, yes, and then you said you need to add the person A to the resource group, and then he must able to perform any activity in the resource group. That is what I said. But if you take the same scenario, I have one more user called B, and one more user called C. And this person A is a junior associate, and this person B is manager, and this person C is tester, or I can say he is director. It's a director. So there are three people. Now you said that they are belongs to same organization. It comes to authentication is absolutely fine. Now I want to provide access to the A, B, C on this. You have a three associates. One is person A, person B, person C, and everyone's designation is different. So as I said, if I want to access anything in RG1, I said that you need to assign a role. Okay, I'll come here. If I assign the same role, if I directly provide junior associate, manager, director the same access, does it make sense? No, right? So if the junior associate able to enter into this resource group, I need to provide only specific access or specific limitations for this junior associate. For manager, okay, fine. For director, it's absolutely fine. He can do anything. Manager also, yes, with certain limitations, he also do anything. But junior associate, no, I am not allowing him to perform all the actions. I am going to restrict him. How you can restrict that? So to do that, you need to define certain roles. For example, if he is a junior associate, then I need to provide certain role called reader, or I used to mention it as contributor, or I used to mention him as owner. So the terminology, the reason to say this is reader means he must have read access. So he must go and just see. That's it. You don't have any other access. He is not allowing to modify anything. That is about reader access. So I myself predefined certain roles. Okay, if he is a reader, so this much activities he must perform. If he is contributor, this much activities he can perform. If he is owner, this much activities will perform. So I will predefine my roles with access controls. So whenever the new person joins, I will simply add that person to the respective role. I will assign this role. So if I assign the reader role to this person, so whatever the actions or whatever the permissions are there for reader role, all will be applicable to this person. So if I assign the manager as a contributor role, so whatever the contributor role, being a contributor role, what are the permissions he can manage, what are the activities he can perform, that activities will be allowed for this manager. If I assign this director as a owner, then being a owner, what activities you can perform this resource group 1, that activities he will perform. The C will perform. Next time there is one more person joined, that is D, and he is also a new person, he is also a new associate. Yes, again I will assign this person to reader role, so that what being a reader, what you are allowed, what are your limitations, that limitations will be applied to the respective D person. So this way, with the help of the dedicated roles, you can control the access of the respective resources inside resource group or anything. It could be any resource. It could be storage or app service or VM or subscription or anything you can control based on the dedicated roles. One more point, if you talk about roles, Azure by defaultly giving certain built-in roles. This reader, contributor, owner are built-in roles. By defaultly Azure designed some rules. Okay, I don't want to use Azure designed one. I want to design my own role. Yes, you can design your own role, and you can attach or you can assign that your own role to any number of people or any person. So you can use built-in roles, or you can use custom, or you can define your own rules and you can assign it to the respective resources. So now you know what is meant by the user, what is meant by the group, what is meant by the service principal, and how the roles will be assigned. Okay, this is absolutely fine. Now if you go a bit further, I'll explain you so how we can create each and how we will assign all these things, that I'll show you. So first you need to go to Microsoft Entra, come to the Azure, search for Entra. So you'll get Entra ID, click on that. So this is called your Active Directory. Okay, so here you'll see the domains, with which domain you logged in. It will show you the domain and all this stuff, and how many users are there in the domain, how many groups are there in the domain, how many applications are there in domain, how many devices are connected or using this domain. So applications are nothing but these are the app registration or service principal, I can say. Okay, those are how many you have. All these things you will get it, and you will get it. So if this is about overview, there you can see the monitoring, how many users are signing in, how many users are signing out, so how much time they are spending. So everything you will get it under this part. You will see the properties, which country it was configured, and the data where they kept, and every details of your tenant will be showed under this particular place in overview. Next, if you want to create a user, you can directly go and add it here itself. You can add it a user. If you are trying to create your organization user, you can create a new user, or if you want to invite other organization user also, you can invite. If you want to create a group, or if you want to create an app registration, I'll tell you about the enterprise application later. So these three things you can create from here itself, or else you can create from manage part. So this is about overview. If you about preview features, this is something they are trying. There's something they are trying. So for example, tenant overview when they released, a switch tenant when they released. So what are the features they are implemented and when they are released and whether they are available or not. That it is showing under preview features. Next one is diagnose and solve problems. If you have any issue with your Active Directory, and if you want to reach out to the Microsoft support related to your Active Directory, that you can reach out using new support request, or if there is an existing issues that you can diagnose and that you can troubleshoot from here. And coming to the manage, this is very important. In the Active Directory, the first part is user. So if you want to onboard any user, so you need to come to the users part. Here I can see the existing user. If I want to create a new user, I need to click on new user. It's a new user. If you want to invite the existing user belongs to another organization, that you can invite it, or else you can create a new user. If you click on create new user, you need to provide the username. If you see here at the right, this is organization name. That is what I explained. So when you are creating any user, it will give you by default the organization name at the right xyz.com. What is the organization you have? So this one. By default you have the domain. So if I am creating a user called XYZ, so it will be created as XYZ at the right your domain name. Okay, so this is what. And next, mail nickname also same as XYZ. So okay, so like whatever the name you are giving, that's it. What is the display name? So whenever you are logging into the Teams, you will see the display name, right? That display name you can write it here, and then you can set one password. You can set one password. So I'm setting one password here. I don't want auto generate. I want to set my password. I want to set password to the user. Yes, I will set the password for the user. So I think it's a common password. Okay. So you just give some password as a random password so that it will give one password, or else you can click on auto generate. It will generate. Just copy that password and share it with that particular person who is onboarding. And you are going to enable, yes, I want to enable this account so that he can perform any action on this, or he can able to enter into your organization or log into your organization. That's it. And you need to provide the basic details of the user, his first name, his last name, and he's a member, okay, or he's a guest user, authorization, or which job he is working, is a DevOps engineer or administrator, or is a network guy or HR or finance member, with company, department, employee ID. The basic details you need to provide. And if you want to assign any roles, that you can assign from here. If you want to assign any role to that person, you can click on add roles. It will come that certain default roles like application administrator. What this application administrator will do, can create and manage all aspects of the app registration. Or else if you go for application developer, he can create application registration or attack payload other. So there are certain by default roles are added. Okay, so if you want to go for that roles, you can add that role to that respective people based on whatever he mentioned here, so he can perform that actions. Or else I don't want to use these roles, I want to assign some my custom roles, or I want to assign on a specific resource, you can assign from there also. Okay, so for now I'm creating a blind user. So if you want to add this user to the dedicated group, you can add it from here itself, or else also you can later you can add that person into that group. So that's it. I'm just creating my user. So user is getting created. Okay, I have one more user called XYZ. Now I want to see how he logged in, so what issues he is facing. All this stuff you will get it under this users portal itself. You can see all this stuff. If you want to reset, if you want to password reset for a dedicated user, if you go to the particular XYZ people, and there you can get an option called reset password. Here you can reset that particular user's password and you can share with that particular person. Okay, you can reset it and you can share it. That's it. So this is the password, temporary password. You can share with that person so that he can log into your particular place and he can update his password in the next login attempt. This is about user management. Next comes to the group. I don't have, if you have any groups, you will see it, or else you need to create a new group. I'll provide that group type as security or Office 365. So you'll always use 365 if you are using Microsoft Entra ID. In some scenarios, the Active Directory must be in on-premises as well. So they are upgrading to the Azure. In that scenario, you need to use the security one. Okay, in previous it was security one, so you can use this one. Any type of group you can create. Similarly for user also, any type of user you can create. And then group name. So I am giving as dev team. Okay, so if you want you can describe your group, what exactly it will do, who belongs to and what is what, everything. And if you want, you can assign one owner to this group so that he can manage. So he can manage that group. I'm assigning one owner to this group. So if you want, you can add members from here itself, or else you can add members later also. So one group will be created, and later I want to add members to this group. So if I go to the manage, if I go to the members, I can see any members you have. If you don't have any members, you can click on add members and you can select the respective users, whoever you want to add it, click on select, and the members will be added to the group, this group. Like that, you can add any number of users, and you can include service principals also, app registrations also. As a member, you can add any number of people to this particular group. You have the owners for this group so that he can manage all these things. And roles and administrator, for example, I want to assign roles for all the people who are belongs to this group. They want to manage everything. Yes, you can add the roles here itself. Okay, and administrative units. The purpose of administrative units is you further split that particular people belongs to dedicated finance. Yes, I'll create one administrative unit for finance, and there I'll add the finance people. And HR, there I'll add one administrative unit for finance, for HR, for some management or any perspective. You will create a dedicated administrative unit and you can do that. Same for membership. If you want to take any membership for this dedicated group, then you can take the membership of another group. Okay, if you have any applications within that group, that will be showed here, and this is the license and the role assignments for this dev group, whatever you created. If you have any role assignments, that will be showed here. And activity also, how he is performing, and all the logs and everything will be showed here. So we'll talk about privileged identity management also. So this is about group. This way you can create a group and you can add that person to that respective group. The next one is external identity. For example, I don't want my Active Directory or my user. I want to provide some XYZ organization access to this one. That external identities you can control from here. How you want to collaborate, how you want to set up, okay, how they are going to sign in. So all these things, how you are going to invite them, how you are going to control all this stuff will be there in the external identities part. The next one is roles and administrators. So these are the by default roles created in Azure, like application administrator, what exactly he can do. Application developer, what exactly he can do. Currently, how many numbers are assigned? These are called assigned, and the role type is built-in role. No, I want to create my custom role. Yes, you can create here. If it is a premium one, you will get an option called create new custom role. There you can create a role. Okay, or else you can use by default Azure provided built-in roles. So okay, you come to the roles, click on the role. Here also you can assign, or else from the user side also you can assign the role. It's up to you. So this way you can assign the roles of the particular people or particular group. You can assign any roles. Again, administrator units. If you want, you can configure administrator units here itself. For example, I'll configure one administrator group that is called finance. finance group, this finance group I'm creating. You can define whatever the description you want to mention that. Restricted management administrator unit, yes or no, it's up to you. If you want to restrict, you can restrict it. And I will assign dedicated roles for this administrator unit. For example, I'll assign this role or anything. Just simply click on review and just create. So that one administrator, okay, there might be some issue while creating. I might don't have access to create an, yeah, okay. Yes, I created one administrator unit. In this administrator unit, I can add any number of users, I can add any number of groups, I can add any number of devices, and I can assign the respective roles and administrators for this administrator unit. This altogether is separate unit. If you want to share any communication or if you want to provide any dedicated access to the finance people, you come to this administrator unit and you can add that role or something. This administrator unit contains many groups. Again, this finance also, they will take accounting one, they're looking PF parts, they're looking some NPS parts, or they're looking the local things like local miscellaneous expenses. Some will look into the travels part. So further you split the finance administrator unit into the multiple groups and you can add it them all together into the finance. This is about administrative units. And then if you have a dedicated admin partners, if you add them, okay, for your Microsoft services, but this is not the recommended option. This will be taken care by the Azure Active Directory admins itself. And there is an important concept of enterprise applications. Before coming to the enterprise applications, we'll discuss about app registrations and then we'll come to the enterprise applications. App registration. What is meant by this app registration? That's called what I told you, service account. Simply click on app registration. So just give the name, best SPN or something. That's it. With this service account, you are going to log into this particular tenant only or multiple tenant. It is asking. For now, I am going to use this particular app registration to log into the my organization only. That's it. If you want to specify any redirect URL for authentication purpose, not into the by default Azure authentication, then you need to specify that authentication mechanism where you are going to redirect after authenticating this request. For example, I am using Azure authentication and I have some Facebook here. So I have some Facebook. So what I need to do, whenever if the person enter into the Facebook, he must log in. So for that login purpose, I'm not using myself. I'm redirecting that request to this particular one. So after redirecting to this particular to Entra, Microsoft Entra ID for this particular app registration, again I need to redirect this request to the respective place wherever you want. Or else I am authenticating here and I want to redirect him to the respective place. So wherever you have a dedicated place to redirect him, then I can redirect by using here. If I select here, I can select web, I can specify the URL so that once it is authenticated, it will redirect you to that respective URL, whatever you specified. Or else I don't want any redirects or I don't want anything, just keep this as it is so that he can log into the Azure portal. Simple, that's it. Click on register so that your app registration will be or your service principal will be created. Once you have the service principal created, you will see this application ID, the client ID. This we is to consider as username. There is one ID generated. This way is to consider as one username. So you have a username. What about password? That password you can create under certificates and secrets. Come to the certificate. If you want, you can create certificate as a password. Yes. Or else secret as a password. Click on new client secret. There is one secret will be generated. How many days I want to keep that secret? It's up to you. How many days you can keep it? And just click on add so that one secret will be generated. You need to copy this secret because later it will not be available. It will be asterisk or it will be renamed with the syntax. Just copy it, that one. Copy and store it at some place. Okay. So that you have the username here, client ID. You have the password here, the secret you generated. With the help of this client ID and the password, a secret value, you can log into the Azure by using this app registration or service principal details. Okay, if you observe the service principal which we created, so here the service principal have dedicated options. So whenever you create any service principal, one thing you need to observe that this Active Directory is for entire organization. So if you come to the app registrations, if you see all applications, you can see the all app registrations created by your entire organizations, not you. Okay, including yours. If you want to see only the app registrations which created by myself, that you can see it under owned applications. Okay, it will show here. So once you see your owned application, you just go to that particular application which you created, and here you need to manage it. If you want, you can delete it. If you want to manage it, you can manage it here. How you can manage it? Again, if you come here, the first part is branding and properties. If you want to brand, if you want to set certain properties to the service principal, like the brand, you can see the logo and all this stuff, you can upload the logo. And if you want to use the terms and conditions, if anybody using this service principal service account, if you want to provide them the restrictions or the service terms and services, that you can specify it here. But in real time scenario, you will not use this part. You don't need to care about this. Next one is authentication part. This is by defaultly set to the accounts in this organizational directory only. Okay, that means with this service principal or with this app registration or with this service account, you are able to log into this particular tenant only. This particular tenant means this particular organization only. And next, certificates and secret. This is very, very, very important. Whenever you get a chance to work in a real-time environment, you must able to manage the certificates and secrets only into the service principal. You come to the certificates and secrets. If you want, you can upload a certificate and you can use that certificate as a secret for this service principal, or else I will create my own secret, my own password for this service account or for this app registration for this service principal. So if you see here, we created already one secret. So as I told you before, whenever you are creating any secret, just copy it or just place it in a one location or in a storage, the secret place at somewhere you need to store it. Okay, because once you create your secret, once you go from here, it can't be visible. If you see, it can't be visible. Whoever, it could be owner also, it can't be visible. That is the reason whenever you are creating any secret, please try to maintain a place to store that secret. So in Azure, there is a concept called key vault. We'll discuss it, how you can store that secret in the key vault. Okay, so this way it will generate a client secret. You just copy this and you can place it in a secured location. Just put your secret in a secured location. Okay, you need to store it because it will not be regained or it will not be showed later. Okay, you need to copy it. So this way you can generate your secret. Now, as I told you, I have my client ID or username, and I have my secret created. So that means I have one service account created. So if you come here, this is your secret and this is your client ID. This client ID. Username I can call it as client ID, and this one is secret you created for the app registration. Okay, now I will show you how you can log in to this particular Azure by using the user which we created right now. Okay, because the purpose to create the user is to mitigate the man in the middle, So instead of, if you want to access to your environment, without your user with service account, you need the service principal to be created, and I created now, and I'll show you how to log into that. So now you need to go to your laptop and click on PowerShell or anything. For now I am using PowerShell to access my Azure environment, so I used it. So now I'll try to use a command called, if I use connect-az account, this is Azure PowerShell command to connect to the Azure, or else you can use AZ CLI also. I'll tell you what is meant by AZ CLI and all this stuff. So these are the command line tools to manage Azure. You can use AZ CLI commands, or you can use Azure PowerShell command. Okay, any command you can use it. Okay, so any command, if you use it, if you want to log in Azure with the help of service principal, you will get the commands. Simply log in to Azure with service principal. So you just enter this, you will get the command. Okay, so if with Azure CLI or Azure, you'll get the commands. Okay, so if you want to log in, see, this is the command: Azure login hyphen service principal -u. Here you need to provide app ID, and password section you need to provide password etc, and you need to provide the tenant name. That's it. You can able to log in with Azure. I'll copy this one. I'll come to the notepad. I'll frame the command here. So agent login and then service principal. Instead of username, what I need to give? I need to give the app ID or a client ID. Both are same. So if you go here, if you see here, application ID or client ID, both are same. So I'll just copy that client ID and I'll paste it in the command. So I'll copy this one and I'll paste it here. Okay, I copied it. And then what about password? I have the password. So I need to copy this password. I need to put it here, password part. Next, what about the tenant? I need to give the tenant ID. Where is the tenant? If you go to your Active Directory, you will see the tenant. You will see the tenant ID. Just copy this tenant and just go there. Place the tenant here. Okay, just place the tenant here. That's it. Your command is ready. So with this, you can able to log into your Azure. Just copy this command, come to your PowerShell, just add it. Okay, so you will be logged into the Azure portal. Okay, you are logged into the Azure portal right now, but it is showing one error. What it is showing? No subscriptions found. It is logged in. It is logged in right now, but it is saying that no subscriptions found. Now you tell me the reason why we got the no subscriptions found. If you observe here, there is a concept of authentication, there is a context of authorization. So what, as of now, what you tried, you created a user here, and with the help of that user you are enter into your place, but you have so many subscriptions in your organizations, but you have not provided this particular user which you created any access to that particular subscriptions. Once you provide that access to that particular subscriptions, then he is able to manage, he is able to do certain things on the subscription. So at the moment, I just created the user, but I have not provided any access to this particular user on the subscription. That is the reason I'm not listing any subscriptions. So if you go to the subscription, I'll show you how you can provide access. If you go to the subscriptions, okay, you will get the subscriptions here also. Click on subscriptions, just type subscriptions, you'll get the subscription, click on the subscription. So just open the subscription, and if you see there is a concept of access control, just go to here. Once you click on this access control, you'll get an option called add role assignment. If you click on it, here you will get an option called add role assignment. Okay, just click on the add role assignment. Okay, here you need to provide access to this particular subscription to dedicated people. Okay, it could be resource, or it could be subscription, or it could be resource group, or it could be anything. The only way to provide access is go to this particular resource. It could be anything. Click on access control IAM, click on add, click on role assignment. Okay, and here you will get that option. First of all, you need to decide which role you want to assign it to that particular user. I have a reader role. What it will do? View all resources, but does not allow you to make any changes. So if you give the reader role, he can view all the resources, but it does not make any changes. It's a built-in role. If you want, you can assign this. Or if you want to manage only for ACR, Azure Container Registries, you can use this role. Like this, you have many roles. Okay, like this, many roles. Whatever the role you want to give, you can give that. Or else I can give privileged one. Means these are the service specific ones or resource specific ones. Or I want to give privileged, means owner or a contributor. These kind of roles you can provide. Owner means he can manage everything in the subscription. Contributor also manages everything, but he don't have an access to provide some other people to provide access. He can manage everything, but he can't provide access to others. Okay, that is about contributor. If you want, you can give these roles also, or else you can give reader also, or else you can give resource specific roles also, VM specific or storage specific or ACR specific or app service specific roles also you can provide it. For now, I am giving him reader access. If I give reader access, if you click on row, select reader and click on next. Here it is asking, okay, you select reader access. whom I need to give this reader access. You want to give this to the particular user, or you want to give this to particular group, or you want to give this to the particular service principal. In that scenario, you need to select this option. Or if you want to give it to the managed identity, then you need to select this option. What is meant by managed identity, that I will explain later. For now, we are talking about if you want to provide access to a person or a group or a service principal and a dedicated resource, how we are giving it. Click on the assign access to this part, because I am at the moment I am giving access to the service principal that is reside under this part. That's why I am selecting this option. Next, okay, you select you want to give access to user or group or service principal. Who is the user? So that you need to select under this members. Click on select members. Okay, here you will get the option to select your members. It will list all your active directory people. It will list all your users, groups, service principal, everything list here. For example, I have my service principal called test. Okay, I have these many service principals I have created. For example, if I select this service principal, you can see selected members or this particular service principal I have selected. Click on select, so that the person added is this one. Okay, this person is added. If you want to provide any description, you can provide it and click on next. That's it. Okay, it will show you this reader role. I am on this particular scope, on particular subscription I am giving. This is called scope on the subscription I am giving, and this is the person I have giving access to, and just click on review and assign, so that this particular person will be assigned as a reader role. If you want to see what are the roles assigned to the particular person on a subscription or any resource, how you can check it? You know how to add the role. If you want, before adding the role, I want to check whether that person is having role or how you can check it. If you want, you can check it by using check access. View my access is nothing but whatever the you person, whatever you have access to this particular place, that you can see under view my access. Or if you want to check for others, that you can click on check access, and here you need to provide that particular person name, whoever the person you want to check the access. If I check this person, then it will show you what are the access that particular person having on this particular place. It could be VM, it could be resource group, it could be app service, it could be resource group, it could be subscription, anything. This way you can check that particular people having access on that respective resource or not. Okay, and I don't want to see the resource level, I want to see all the resources. Then you can come to the subscription. There you can see role assignment. When you click on role assignment, it will show you all the roles. If you come to the scope here if you click on all scopes, means all role assignment, it will show you irrespective of the subscription, irrespective of the places, it will show you all the resources. But I want to show only the roles assigned on this particular subscription. Then you need to select this particular resource, this particular subscription, who is having access. This particular subscription having only two access. One is owner access to this person, one is reader access to this person. Okay, if you want to see all the resources, like let's say I have created a resource group inside the subscription, I have made some other person as owner over there, I want to see all the things, you can see all the role assignments by selecting all scopes. Okay, so this way you can check existing roles, and this way you can add your person or your service principal, user or group to provide access to the particular place. Now I have given access to here. Now that particular person able to read this subscription. If I go to this here and if I do the command again, now I must return one subscription. Now you will see it is listed one subscription. Okay, it is listed one subscription because it is able to log in it, and it is able to see that, it can able to read that. Now as this person having only read access, this person is having only read access, he can only see the things, but he cannot create anything. For example, I want to see what are the resource groups inside that particular subscription. I can see these many resource groups. If I want, I can get that resource groups, agent group list. So if you use this command, he can able to list the groups. You can see, so these are the resource groups created. This one is the group, this one is the group, this one is the group. But he can read the things, but he cannot create the things. If you see agent group create hyphen name as, for example, test, he can't do that because he don't have access to the, okay, I'll use the same come in. Okay, but it will throw you an error because you don't have access. You can see authorization is failed. Okay, because this user you granted only read access, but you are trying to do write operation. That is not possible. So if you want to allow that person to do anything on the subscription, then you need to change his permission level. You need to change his permission level. So what is the permission at the moment? I have having the reader having only one person, this reader. What exactly he can do with the read access? Okay, if you see the reader access, reader role, if you observe what actions he will perform, he can just read. He can read Active Directory, he can read ADM, or he can read add-ons, or he can read hybrid health service, or he can read alerts, he can read virtual machines, he can read storage, he can read APIs, he can read all these things. Only read actions he can perform. You can see what are the actions he can perform with the respect to role. Okay, for now I don't want to give him reader. Instead I want to assign him some other role. Then what you need to do, you need to remove that assignment and you need to provide new assignment. So if I click on that particular one, then I am removing that particular role assignment and I am adding a fresh assignment. I can't change it. I can add a new or delete one. That's it. If I add a new without deleting one, it will be conflict because you only telling that he must have read access and you only telling that he must have contributor access. That is not possible. Now you need to decide one. So that is what we need to do that. For example, I removed him from this particular reader, particular role assignment. Now I am adding him fresh role assignment as a contributor. So if you go to the privileged, I'm adding him as a contributor. Click on next. I'm selecting that particular person. So I have added this. Click on select. Click on next. Sorry, review and assign. So just click on it. So it will get assigned. Please wait for a couple of minutes. Once it reflects, it will take bit time to replicate actually. So okay. And now if you go here, when you try to do the same operation, it will create it. It will create it because you can see it is created my resource group. Now it is not throwing authorization error. If we go to the resource group, you will see the new resource group created, my resource group. Just refresh it, you will get the new resource group. You can see my resource group is created. So this way, with the help of user, the middleman or the service principal or app registration, based you need to provide respective roles and a respective place, and with the help of that user you can manage the things. There is no need of there is no need of user permissions here, there is no need of user credentials here. Here I created a resource group with the service account, not with your credential or not with my credential. So this is the purpose of app registration. Not only this, you can use it for anywhere. For example, I showed you to enter into the Azure with the help of PowerShell. I am using this way. The same way, if you want to integrate to Azure, or if you want to enter into the Azure from any place, like from Jenkins, I want to come to the Azure, or from Azure DevOps, I want to come into the Azure, or from Git, I want to come to the Azure, or from third-party tools like Argo CI/CD, Bamboo, Travis, or Octopus, or any tools you can consider. Any third-party tool, when they are going to enter into the Azure, they must enter via app registration. If you are entering to the Azure, it must have an app registration. With that app registration credentials only, we will provide that credential in Jenkins, so that Jenkins will log into the Azure with the help of that credential. Azure DevOps, yes, with the help of Azure DevOps, with the help of that particular credential, it will enter into the Azure. Same for others also. I showed you from PowerShell. If you want, I'll show you from Azure DevOps also. So if you have Azure DevOps organizations, you will list it, or else if you want to go for Azure DevOps organization, search for Azure DevOps. So you'll see Azure DevOps organizations. If you click on my DevOps organizations, if you have any organizations, it will take you to there, or else you need to create one. But if it is new one, that's why I'm creating, but in your real time it was already created, you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so it will create. So one new organization I'm creating, the name is new XYZ. I'm giving as XYZ organization, and already taken a 56 P H D H H V. Okay, click on continue. So it will take a bit and it will try to create a new DevOps organization for you. Okay, search for Azure DevOps organization. Go here, click on My Azure DevOps organization, and just provide the details. Just click on that. So it will redirect you to that particular place. I'm just creating one project. So you need to create a project, and the visibility must be private. Make sure to put your project will be private visibility. Okay, this way you need to create a project and organization. So next time onwards, if you want to access your DevOps, that you can access by using a URL called dev.azure.com. This is the URL, and this is your organization name. Whatever the organization you have created, right? This is your organization name. This organization contains many projects. So that you can access by using this URL, dev.azure.com / your organization name. That's it. This way you can access your DevOps portal next time onwards. So now I'm into that particular project. This is your project, and this project contains the DevOps things. Okay, so for now just ignore about this stuff. We'll discuss about the DevOps later. So for now I'm explaining you how you are going to integrate your Azure DevOps with Azure. How you can integrate with that? You can integrate with, for example, I'm going to deploy something from this project, from this Azure DevOps to Azure. How I can do that? To do that, you must have one service connection created. That means you must establish one connection from your Azure DevOps to Azure. Azure DevOps to Azure. Azure DevOps is a separate tool and Azure is a separate tool. So if you want to integrate, or if you want to establish a connection from your Azure DevOps to Azure, you can establish by using a concept of service connection. That is also I will explain later. So if you want to establish a connection, click on create service connection and come to Azure Resource Manager. For example, how you are going to establish a connection from Azure DevOps to Azure by using service principle, or by using these things. These things we'll discuss when we are actually discussing about DevOps. For now, I have an Azure service principle in my hand. So I want to go for manual. I will select Azure service principle. Now click on next. Okay, so here it will ask you which subscription you are going to connect, and what is the service principal ID you have, and what is the service principal secret you have. You have a service principal key, or you have a service principal certificate. Just provide the details. With this you can connect Azure from Azure DevOps. I will show you. So just post your subscription ID here. Go to the subscription and copy the subscription ID from there. This is the subscription ID. So I'll copy the subscription ID. I'll come to here and I'll copy the subscription ID, paste the subscription ID here, and the subscription name you can give whatever the subscription name you have. Copy it, paste it here, and the service principal ID, whatever the service principal you have, take the service principal ID and paste the service principal ID, and then service principal key. So I have the service principal key. Copy the service principal key and paste the service principal, and copy the tenant ID. So you have the tenant ID already copied, right? Copy the tenant ID, come here, paste the tenant ID. That's it. Click on verify. It will go and verify. You can see the verification is succeeded. That means in the meantime it contacted the Azure, it submitted this credential, and the authentication is successful. Now just provide your service connection name, whatever the service connection you are going to use, the name you want to give, you can give that name. That's it. You can grant access to all pipelines or not, it's up to you. Just verify and save. It will verify and it will save it. So now this is the connection from Azure DevOps to Azure. If you want to perform any action on Azure from Azure DevOps, like if you want to create something, or if you want to delete something, if you want to manage something, that must go from this connection, because this connection having user details to authenticate or to authorize with Azure. By using that credential, it will enter into the Azure and it will perform that actions. Same with Jenkins also, same with Travis, same with Bamboo, same with GitLab, same with Terraform, same with anything, any tool. Might be the UI will be different, might be the name will be different. Everywhere you need to establish a connection. There you need to provide the respective details of the app registration which you created in Azure. By using that app registration, you will go and you will enter into that particular place and you can manage the stuff. Okay, so for now, as of now, we discussed about app registration, how you can utilize the same app registration, how to create this app registration, how to create a secret, and how to utilize that secret and client ID in PowerShell or in Azure DevOps. Or if you are using Jenkins also, you can utilize the same in Jenkins also, or any third-party tool, you can utilize these credentials over there. That's about app registration. And there is a concept of enterprise application. What is meant by this enterprise application? So it's a reverse process. It's a reverse process. So what is the enterprise? What is the difference between enterprise application and what is the difference between app registration? Is app registration is something you are creating and you are generating a user, you are creating a password that you can utilize to integrate any third-party applications. But I don't want to create an app registration and I don't want to use that one. Instead, from the third party itself, I want to create one app registration from the third party side itself. Okay, how you can do that? You can do that. You just come to service connection again here, click on new service connection, click on the same Azure Resource Manager. Here there is an option called automatic. If you select this automatic, it will by default create. You don't need to worry about all this service principal knowledge. So if you click on next, okay, so it will load all the subscriptions based on your access, what you have the access to. So it will list the subscriptions you have. Okay, you have the subscription, you have to select that particular resource group. Now it will list you the resource groups available over there. For example, I want to use this resource group or any resource group. Just add that resource group, select that one, and just add the service connection name, and then that's it. I don't want to do anything, just save it. So what it is doing, it is setting up a connection. Okay, it is creating one app registration. It is itself establishing a connection. You can see it is created now. Now if you go to here, if you go, it is listed here. So by defaultly it is created one app registration. So this way, if you want, you can connect from their end, or else from here itself I want to integrate directly and I know where I need to use the service principal. For example, if you want to create an app registration, it will give you a username or secret key that you can utilize it in anywhere. But I know I want to use it only for DevOps purpose. I know I want to use it only for Jenkins purpose, or I know I want to use it only for Chef purpose. In that place, you need to create an enterprise application. Come to enterprise application, click on new application, then it will show you the available third-party tools to integrate. For example, I want to create a service principal to integrate with AWS. Yes, it can create, or integrate with GCP or Oracle or SAP or any other third-party tools. Any tools you can use, Jenkins or AWS or anything. You can search for the tool is available or not. If it is available, you can directly search it. So if it is available, it will show you. So I don't have the Jenkins, so it's fine. Then I will use the default app registration, or if it is available, you can choose the respective one. For example, I want to use to integrate with AWS, click on AWS. Okay, this AWS one. So it will ask you the AWS related stuff. Just click on created. There is one app registration is created to connect with AWS. Just share these details in the AWS. So go to the AWS and just provide these details from here. So what are the roles we need to give and what is the things you need to assign. Just by using this application ID or this object ID in AWS, you can able to enter into this particular Azure and you can manage anything from AWS into Azure. So anything like this, you can create your enterprise applications to integrate with third-party tools directly. So this way you can integrate with. This is the homepage URL you are going to sign in with. This all the details it will ask you in AWS. If you go to the AWS, just come to here and take all the details from here and enter all the details there, and it will be established a connection from AWS to Azure. So similarly, you can establish any third-party tool if you are strictly using that for that purpose only. Okay, but I can't use this one in Azure, or I can't use this in PowerShell, or I can't use this in Terraform. This I can only use to connect with AWS. So that is about enterprise application. And next, this is about enterprise applications. Identity governance is altogether a dedicated topic that's called privileged identity management. So if I don't want to provide permanent access, instead I want to provide temporary access. For example, if you consider the app registration, what we did, we created app registration and we went to that particular subscription and we provided that particular app registration as a reader or contributor. That's a permanent access you provided. And then unless you go and manually remove that access, it won't remove. It will be there permanently. But I don't want like that. I want to provide that particular user temporarily for 5 hours or 4 hours or for 3 hours only access. And after 3 hours, I need to remove that access automatically. For that purpose, you need to achieve by using identity governance. It's called privileged identity management. With the help of that process, you need to achieve that. That will be set up by the respective teams. We have many tools available in the market. That is PIM, and that is you have Citrix. You have many third-party tools who are offering the PIM functionality. And the application proxy is not required, and these things are not required now. And you have one important one is called password reset. So if you want to enable password reset for the users, you can enable it here. You can configure the password reset options here based on the options you configure, so that the people come to Active Directory, come to that respective user's place, and they can able to reset that password for that user. Click on that user. If you want, you can reset password for that particular user. So these options can be shown based on the configurations you made on this option here. Do you allowing the self-service SSPR, self-service password reset, or not? If you are allowing, so that everyone can come, everyone can reset their own password. Or you are providing managers access to reset passwords of their own members, their own team members. Yes, all the configurations you will do it from here. And that's it from here. And monitoring part will be taken care by the Active Directory team. They used to monitor who is logging in, who is logging out, how much time they are spending, what actions they are performing. So all these things, how usages and all these things, they used to track, and the monitoring part and billing and everything will be taken care by the Active Directory administrators. Yeah, that's it. That's all about as a DevOps engineer, or as a cloud engineer, or as an infrastructure engineer. This is the roles and responsibilities we need to perform under Active Directory.